Hey guys, in this video let's review Ender Lilies. I'll check its story, gameplay, graphics, music and collector's edition, so let's begin. The story presents several cinematics and collectibles, where we can see and read what happened in this place. At first showing some beautiful landscapes full of life, but everything changed so fast, turning this place into a nightmare. The first thing we can see is that a wisp seems glad to find that this little girl is safe, and quickly we get to know that it is the incorporeal form of a knight, who asks the girl if she remembers anything. After seeing that the girl doesn't recall anything, they venture into this unknown world to rebuild and perhaps lift the curse that befell in this land. That is the premise of the story, and to be honest, at first it was kind of hard to catch up because, as I mentioned, you get to understand this story after watching characters' flashbacks and reading lots of collectibles, where the story is presented. But while you're putting all the pieces together, it's a really intriguing story. It doesn't explain everything, but keeping things up to the imaginations add a lot to this story. And I like it so much that I want to look at it in detail, but that is going to be in another video. To me, this story was a 10, intriguing, dark, and filled with emotion. For its gameplay, it is a MetroidVania where we play with this little girl, and the help of different spirits to attack the blighted or enemies. It is through these spirits that we are going to get different skills and ways to proceed into the new areas, where they become harder and trickier to proceed, turning this game into a nice challenge. I felt that this game takes inspiration in Dark Souls because of the kind of setting we are thrown into. Boss battles have different stages and the music changes in the last phase, so take that just as a prelude of what's going to come. It was a challenging game. The first bosses and mini-bosses weren't that hard, but later you will find some interesting battles. A mechanic that was clever to me is that increasing levels here doesn't affect the amount of HP that you have. It just changes the DPS of your spirits. And to increase your HP, you need to find different relics, which is the translation of equipment. You'll have to find them throughout the different rooms, and the game lets you know whenever you have found all of the items in a specific area, once it changes from blue to a gold color. It is a nice mechanic once you start backtracking for all the items and documents. Some of these collectibles are hidden in unexpected places, but it was a lot of fun looking for them, because the gameplay is well paced. It has several features to keep you engaged. For example, every time you die, it automatically sends you to the last resting place, so there are no annoying windows in between. It is like an auto reset, and there are many places to where you can fast travel, making the whole backtracking something fun, because you can tackle many areas real fast. And if you enjoy the gameplay a lot, you can start a new game plus, where you can set different multipliers to make the journey a living hell or a walk in the park. As Metroidvanias go, Ender Lilies has an extraordinary gameplay. Depending from your skills as a player, it can take well over 15 hours to finish. To be honest with you, I cannot think into something negative or that I didn't like, because there is a good exploration level, extraordinary level design, it is well paced, it takes many Metroidvanias elements and adapts original ones. To me, it's another 10. For its graphics, I'll be evaluating the Switch version. It is known that the Switch doesn't have the best of graphics, and it sometimes changes colors. In this case, I didn't feel a particular issue regarding colors. Perhaps the only small issue is that there are some FPS drops as you move in elevators or move through big rooms. Personally, I don't mind that kind of things, unless it negatively impacts the gameplay, but just keep in mind, if you want to have a smoother experience, you can get the PS version or Steam. With that out of the way, I believe the game has really good graphics. It shows beautiful scenes with many layers, and there are no repetitive pieces of art where it becomes distracting in any way. This can also be attributed to the white color of our character. The game throws several areas with interesting concepts, and the deeper you go, the darker its art becomes. And there are several changes as you proceed in the story, rooms filled with interesting lore, and extraordinary enemy design, where they have several new blighted creatures in every region. It will be another 10 to me, but I cannot discard those FPS drops. It is an 8.5, at the very least for the Switch version. For the music, this is perhaps the only point that may annoy some people, because its soundtrack is filled with piano tracks. Its whole soundtrack is real chill. Personally, I love it. I am a huge fan of piano tracks, but something that can tire a bit is that some of these piano tracks are quite short, and you're bound to be in some areas a good amount of time, so it is going to feel a bit or perhaps a lot repetitive. The bosses is where I feel they combine many different ideas, because some bosses have really good tracks and others are really chill. So it threw me a bit off guard. I'll say it is a 9. Ender Lilies' final score is a 9.3. Definitely extraordinary Metroidvania. This is a superb piece of art. And for the collector's edition, in my understanding there are different versions. Some have the art of the game, but in my case, the one I was able to get is this version that has a beautiful poster with 2 sides, a pin with the form of the Lily's pendant, and 2 discs with literally every track the game has. It is a bit more of 2 hours and a half. The main issue with having a poster inside these small boxes is that they get rough treatment, so you can see small white scratches from bending it. The pin is a cool piece of art in case you want to place it in a backpack or something like that, but to me the most important part of this collector's edition is the soundtrack. It's been ages since I've seen these packages with 2 discs in one. Perhaps the last one I remember was a Doors album, and it is not precisely 2 discs in one box. I'll say it is an 8.5. If you really like to have the soundtrack of your games, it is worth it. If you like the content of this video, you can give it a check to some other reviews, consider subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.